So as we've been covering all week, there has been a nationwide moral panic freakout and attendant authoritarian state crackdown on peaceful college protesters who are upset about the atrocities they witness in Gaza and who specifically want their schools to divest from any related investments. Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, has joined the fray, issuing this statement and calling American college students effectively Nazis. Take a listen.
What's happening on America's college campuses is horrific. Anti-Semitic mobs have taken over leading universities. They call for the annihilation of Israel. They attack Jewish students. They attack Jewish faculty. This is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 1930s. It's unconscionable. It has to be stopped. It has to be condemned, and condemned unequivocally. But that's not what happened. The response of several university presidents was shameful. Now, fortunately, state, local, federal officials, many of them have responded differently, but there has to be more. More has to be done. It has to be done not only because they attack Israel, that's bad enough. Not only because they want to kill Jews wherever they are, that's bad enough. It's also, when you listen to them, it's also because they say not only death to Israel, death to the Jews, but death to America. And this tells us that there's an anti-Semitic surge here that has terrible consequences. We see this exponential rise of anti-Semitism throughout America and throughout Western societies as Israel tries to defend itself against genocidal terrorists who hide behind civilians. Yet it is Israel that is falsely accused of genocide, Israel that is falsely accused of starvation and all sundry war crimes. It's all one big libel, but that's not new.
Oh my God, Saagar.
Libel.
I am going to lose
Nazis.
my
Anti-Semitism.
mind. I mean, it has it all. We're going to just let a foreign government leader smear our college kids as Nazis? In addition, I mean, I have a million things I want to say about this. I'm like sort of sputtering with anger at every piece of that. How much have the Jewish students who are at the heart of these protests been completely erased? The idea that they're calling for death to all Jews. What, they want themselves to be killed? They want themselves to be genocided? Like, this is, it's so insane. Ryan and Emily did a great interview yesterday with one of the student organizers on Columbia. She was out buying ingredients for their Seder, which they had very peacefully, interfaith, okay? That's what we're talking about here. And are there some rally chants that I wouldn't necessarily choose? Sure. Are there some genuinely anti-Semitic comments that are made in the context of, especially not even the college campus, but outside? Sure. Okay? There are assholes and racists exist. No doubt about it. But you're going to use that to smear everyone who is sick to death watching these babies being starved and slaughtered as an anti-Semite? It's disgusting. It's despicable. And nothing will make actual anti-Semitism rise, by the way, farther and faster than forcing every Jew in America or around the world to be conflated with the state of Israel, okay? Because we can all see what you're doing on TikTok and YouTube and lots of other places. Your soldiers, your IDF soldiers are out there TikToking their war crimes. We're not idiots. We can see. And it's not just college kids. It's the UN Special Rapporteur. It's the ICJ saying plausible genocide. It's the body count. It's the relentless complete siege. It's the fact that you're about to imminently invade Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians are currently sheltering. Like,
yeah.
Sickening.
Well,
sickening. And the fact that politicians in America are letting this foreign leader smear our kids as racists and Nazis, and they just let this go and they freaking support it. Ugh.
See, that latter part is where I wouldn't even bother pointing out hypocrisy. I would just say, hey man, you worry about your country and we'll worry about ours. And in fact, you especially shouldn't be worrying about ours and talking about ours when you are actively telling us not to sanction your units based upon our, US laws like the Leahy law. When you're actively, your president just put out a plea saying, please stay out of Israeli politics. Whenever they attack Chuck Schumer or others for calling for an end to the Netanyahu government by saying, hey, you shouldn't be calling for interference in our domestic politics. I mean, this man is in English talking about a domestic political issue that we as Americans can resolve together as to what constitutes anti-Semitism, what proper use of force looks like, etc. That is a debate for us to have and for them to have no play or part in, especially whenever they are a client state who receives more foreign aid than any other nation in the world. That is particularly why it's so galling, is because their ego and the gall and their impunity is such that they can keep their hand out and then smack our populace at the very same time. So to them, I say, keep your face completely out of our politics, and you worry about your own business.
And the impunity is cultivated by Joe Biden. He knows he can say that he can smear whoever he wants as a Nazi. I mean, he's actually comparing the whole country to Nazi Germany because he says, oh, we haven't seen this since that time period. We haven't seen, Jews unsafe on college campuses or whatever he said. Again, no, this is not about Jewish student safety, because if it was, there might be a few words of care and concern for the Jewish students who are being cracked down on by a, aggressive police state and being threatened with the freaking National Guard, people courting another Kent state. Maybe you'd have a little concern for those Jewish students if that was really, truly your concern. So it's disgusting. Additional disgusting situations unfolded. You had Mike Johnson and a bunch, who's of course Speaker of the House, a bunch of other Republicans who went to tour Columbia, give a press conference, and wasn't received particularly well by the student body there. First of all, apparently he didn't have like a microphone to project his voice.
Yeah, I know.
He was just speaking into like the press microphones.
Yeah.
So no one could even hear him. So there were a lot of people, a lot of the students were yelling like, grandstand louder, and like speak up, you piece of crap, and stuff like that. Anyway, and the press around really couldn't hear what he had to say either. But anyway, here is a little bit of Mike Johnson attempting to speak and getting heckled by the crowd. Take a listen.
After meeting with Jewish students, let's listen live on the Columbia campus.
So, thank you all for being here today. We have several members of Congress here, and we're here today at one of America's preeminent academic institutions on a very important day and a very important time. Throughout history, Columbia...
Can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
So anyway, receiving a warm welcome there. And, it's notable. I believe they had a few Jewish members along with them. They managed to remain safe in spite of the fact that this is apparently, Nazi Germany and Manhattan at this point. And you were talking about this. I think you should lay this out. But there's a very clear political benefit here for Mike Johnson, who has some problems with parts of his coalition because of the Ukraine aid stuff. This crackdown on free speech, when minutes ago these people were, oh, we love free speech, and now suddenly it's like bring in the police, bring in the National Guard. Very unifying for the Republicans and divisive for the Democrats. So it's a smart wedge issue for them politically.
This is very useful to Mike Johnson because he was facing that motion to vacate revolt that was on his right flank from Freedom Caucus types and others. So by going to Columbia, even with all of the Republican leadership that he had behind him, including a few others that were willing to make the trek, he actually is solidifying some of his support within the caucus and then turning the tables, like you said, in terms of a division against the Democrats. So this is kind of a political jujitsu move on his part to move the attention away from the Ukraine aid and all of that to an area where he's very, very safe within his own caucus, and that's where he finds himself right now. It's directly why he immediately was like, I'm going to Columbia, and this is the reason.
Yeah, police state crackdowns on peaceful protesters, apparently a unifying issue for the Republican caucus, and frankly, for much of the Democratic caucus. There are a number of Democratic members of Congress who went and toured Columbia too. And amazingly, thank goodness, they were able to remain safe. What an incredible miracle. Obviously, this is not just Columbia at this point. Also, an update there, the president has been, in some sort of negotiations with the students. There were initial threats that they were going to bring the NYPD back in. You'll recall they cracked down before and arrested a bunch of students, suspended a bunch of students. There was a threat that they were going to bring them in again. There were other people who were threatening, oh, we might bring in the National Guard. She's now in these discussions with student protesters. I believe the deadline for those talks is something like 4 a.m. on Friday morning. So we'll see what happens there. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.